Travelling with Djinns is a 2003 novel by the British-Sudanese author Jamal Mahjoub. Mahjoub was born in London but raised in Khartoum, where he trained as a geologist. In 1989, his first novel, Navigation of a Rainmaker, dealt with a man of mixed heritage who returns to Africa to work for an oil exploration company and who finds himself having to deal with some of the continent's problems: famine, ruthless rebels, official corruption, and crumbling infrastructure. Travelling with Djinns won the French Astronaut Astonishing Traveller's Prize. It deals with questions of national identity affecting persons such as the protagonist, a 37-year-old man called Yassine, who belonged to two different continents. Yassine is brought up in Sudan by his Sudanese father and his British mother, but he never feels at home in Africa or anywhere. You never believed in anything, his brother tells him at the end. Always distrusted everyone. You didn't want to be on this side or that side. When the story begins, Yassine's marriage to an Englishwoman called Ellen has just broken down. By mutual consent, up to a point, he decides to take their 7-year-old son Leo on a road trip through Europe. As the blurb puts it, this is his last chance to explain to his son who he is and where he came from. The problem is that Yassine isn't sure of the answers to those questions himself. He has 2 passports, but no national identity. The road trip takes them through Germany and France and ends on the Spanish coast. It encompasses Yassine's whole family, his father and mother, his brother and sister, all of whom experience in different ways the same crisis of belonging. His father is a human rights campaigning journalist who can't stop Sudan disintegrating. His brother and sister move to England, where she becomes an anti-Semitic Muslim and he becomes a drug pusher. Meanwhile, Leo shows only lukewarm appreciation for the road trip. Djinns are invisible creatures mentioned several times in the Quran, but which predate Islam and are neither inherently evil nor inherently good. In chapter 16, Yassine's father-in-law makes a prophetic statement about the road trip, which Yassine links to Djinns. You can never really get away from the things that are troubling you. No matter how far you go, they go with you. You see, the things that are pestering you are within. Partly in order to come to terms with this heritage, Yassine writes a memoir about his childhood in Sudan, which sells well in England. But his father dismisses it as over-sentimental and morally superficial, and his sister sees it as a betrayal of Islam and the Sudanese culture. You made fun of us all, she rages. You must be proud of yourself. Shortly afterwards, he considers the strong possibility that there is no truth, that all we have are relative truths, prejudice excused by counter-prejudice, sectarianism. Nothing will ever get better. The development of civilization is fated to remain stunted. The best we can hope for is a standoff, whereby humanity is reduced to a series of teams, what used to be called tribes. Either you are for us or you're against us. In the end, he's saved from making this the final word by his son Leo, by people's capacity to change, and by understanding and forgiveness. This is a thoughtful novel which doesn't suggest any answers. There can't be definitive answers because everyone's situation is different, but which holds out hope for the future. Prejudice and alienation are both real, but the worst thing we can do is cut ourselves off from others. Reality is always more pregnant with possibilities than we generally give it credit for.